freaking first cut. Golly.
What's going on, YouTube? This is your PGA Championship storylines, best bets, one and done, all the good stuff. We'll jump into it right now, but make sure to hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Here we go. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and we are mega preview podding it. The coach is here. Coach, PGA Championship, good to see you.
I am channeling my Sunday Tiger Woods today on the show because I want to go back in my mind for all the good memories at Southern Hills and get ready for this week. I'll be on site come Friday.
Wow, maybe I should fly down there because Coach is going to be there. Mark, you're close. You're in a hotel nearby. Yeah. Good to have you.
Thanks. Good to be at Tulsa for the first time. And Coach, just text me. Let me know where you are, and I'll make sure I'm nowhere close. Okay.
Done.
Kyle Porter is here. KP, that appears to be the media center, is it not?
It is. On our way over here today, we actually drove by the Little League field where I grew up playing ball.
Really?
I leaned over to somebody that was on the bus and said, I'm surprised there's not a plaque out there to memorialize my career here in Tulsa. So,
is it Porter Field?
It should be. It should be.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about how little I've progressed since then. Like I might have regressed since I was 7.
You're like those fences look further away now than they did when I was 8.
Sure. Like I've gone backwards in life compared to where I was at when I was 8. So no, look, like everybody's talking about how good this course is. There's a buzz on site. I don't know if it hasn't really felt like a major week broadly yet, like on Twitter and just like on Golf Channel and everything. But I think once we start to kind of play our way into the week, I think I'm excited about this major. There's a ton of storylines that we'll discuss, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, Rick, just for the record, you see KP's wearing the quarter zip looking very golf professional-ish, right? Yours truly didn't pack very well for this trip because I was expecting scorching temperatures like Dallas. Well, I've gotten in here, it's overcast, it's kind of cool, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I might have to visit merchandising here in a little while.
It's supposed to be 50 on Sunday.
Mark, real quick, though, you can't do that, Mark, because if beers are $19, how much are pullovers going to be?
Did you see that? I'm gonna have to spend my one and done earnings I've won off you, Coach. I'm gonna dip into the savings.
Fair enough.
Amazing. Let's talk storylines here, gents. And there's a lot, many storylines. The one that has soaked up not only necessarily this week, but the previous weeks and months and everything is the Phil stuff. Phil and the Saudis. Now, Coach, what we know, Phil's not playing this week. He's not going to be there to defend his title, which is a story in itself. And of course, the Alan Shipnuck book comes out today. Did come out today. So all those sweet quotes that we're going to be seeing, they're now available. And I think this is going to continue to be a storyline. It's just rare when you have a guy who doesn't defend his major championship for no reason other than, I guess, politics and the way he's being viewed. And it's eating up a lot of our oxygen.
It's sad. It's really sad where we are at right now for so many different reasons. And I don't know if it would have been better, guys, if Phil would have showed up, answered the questions, and played. If he would have done that, I don't think he would have played very well because we know golf is a very, very mental game. And right now, he can't be in a very good mental space. And the luckiest person in this whole scenario is Alan Shipnuck. When you write a book, you can't ask for better media attention, for more media attention than what he's getting for this. This book's going to be an absolute bestseller because then you released the Gary McCord stuff yesterday. Crazy that he would bet with Phil while Phil was playing on putts. It's nuts. And more that's coming out. And I got into a little Twitter beef with Armin Katayan yesterday because Armin is coming out with a book from Billy Walters that they co-wrote together. And I was in the room when Vince McMahon absolutely destroyed Armin years and years ago. And Armin didn't like that very much, but it's okay. My point is there's more stuff coming out. And I don't know when it's going to end. So at some point, Phil either has to say, you know what, I got to show up and show out, or what do I do? What do I do? Because it's not ending. He's got to show up, sit in front of the cameras, and take care of it. But you're right. We've lost oxygen. We need to move on. I loved Kyle's tweet today. Loved Kyle's tweet today about what Rory McIlroy said. I just want it all to be over.
Yeah, that's what I was going to reference that, because I think Rory is speaking for everyone, and that it's exhausting. It's exhausting to think about, to try and figure out, to talk about, to try and analyze. You know, the thing that I've thought about a lot over the last couple of days is I think it's pretty weird that he's not here, and because he's clearly not suspended by the PGA of America, right, for the PGA Championship. And it's just, I mean, Justin Ray had the stat where everybody, the last person to not defend who wasn't injured was like Hogan in 54 at the Open Championship. And it's because his boat couldn't get over there. Or like he didn't want to try, like an absurd reason that happened 80 years ago. And the thing that I was thinking about with Phil is, man, like, is he really not playing because he couldn't handle a few questions from idiots like me? Like, that can't be it, right? Like there's something more going on, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if anybody knows what it is. And maybe it's simply like, and we talked about this the other day, Rick, maybe it's simply like he just doesn't want to play until the live golf stuff in June. Maybe that's it. Maybe he signed a contract where he can't actually, like, he can't play until June at the live golf thing. Otherwise he doesn't get the money that's coming to him. I don't know, but it can't, like, I refuse to believe that it's as simple as, well, I just didn't want to answer questions from these people who were going to ask me some hard things. Like, that's not a reason, and especially not a reason for Phil, who's great at stuff like that. So there's something else there. I don't know if we ever find out or if it ever comes out, but that's kind of the corner that I'm on right now with Phil.
The crisis management response, Mark, from the Mickelson camp, maybe not great. Maybe it was more of the Michael Scott crisis management response team, but this is not going to go away until he addresses it, right? I thought this was the obvious place for him to sit down, answer those questions, and then probably get us to all move on, because now we're just all speculating everything, and it doesn't end until he talks.
Yeah, and as long as people are speculating, stories run rampant. They grow somewhat bigger than what they really are. And I must be honest with you guys. I made a quick trip home yesterday after Dallas, and after I'd done all my stuff around the house, I actually sat down to watch Golf Central, and I felt like I was rubbernecking an accident. Just waiting for Shipnuck to get on set there to give his take, and I'm like, this is just not right. I mean, to Kyle's point, what Coach was saying. Yeah, I work inside the industry. In the TV compound, there's all sorts of, some speculation, some I've heard this, some I spoke to so-and-so who told me this. And so you're hearing all these stories, and I'm wondering if some of the stuff is indeed true. And here I'm sitting watching this thing going, are you really this guy? It's a major championship, for Pete's sake. We're going to a golf course that all the winners here have just been like stout mentally. They've been real champions. And yeah, I'm worried about what Phil might come out in Alan Shipnuck's book. So yeah, I thought, well, from that point of view, personally, I'm disappointed. And then the way it's been dealt with, it's curious. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out what the actual strategy is here. Because you would have thought, and like I said to you last week, Rick, I never really thought Phil was going to play. I think he's in there so deep with the other crowd. He's probably binding to Carl's, there's some binding arrangement to Carl's observation. But maybe you come in here as Phil, yes, you've said some funky things, but you're the defending champion at the PGA Championship. They're showing the highlights of your histrionics last year. It was like one for the ages kind of thing. Maybe that dilutes the questions and the fan response a little bit. But the fans, from that point of view, are very forgiving. If you think about how they've been with Tiger too, and so maybe they would have lifted Phil up. But now every week, to what you guys say, as long as he stays away, is as long as we start guessing and conjecturing and stuff, and it's just getting downright messy right now, in my opinion.
It really is. I hate, with all the things that we have that are great to talk about this week, I hate to continue to spend time on Phil, so we're not going to. Coach, you are channeling your inner Tiger Woods, and he's back, baby. We've seen him play at Southern Hills a couple of times since a few weeks ago, And tee times are out. How about this one for you, Coach? 11 a.m. local time. The Big Cat goes out on Thursday morning with Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth. I started to count up major championships on my fingers and toes, ran out of them. It's 22 for that group.
I hate to admit this, but I'm going to. When I saw the announcement come out, I went straight to Kyle Porter's Twitter. What I did. I swear to you, all my kids, I did, because I was like, I got to see what Kyle thinks about this. And, of course, my man did not disappoint. If you haven't seen it, go to his Twitter and check out what he posted with the with this particular group. But I got to tell you, this is exciting. And a lot of times, whether it's a PGA of America, USGA, there it is. Of course, producer Jacobson. That was amazing. They normally don't like to do this. You know what I mean? Because you've got three guys that individually always get their own crowds. And then you put them three together, then it can become crazy. But I love this. And I love the fact that I think this is going to help Tiger more than anybody. What I mean by that is this. He needs somebody to drag him along, and he needs energy. And if Rory and Jordan can start making birdies, and Tiger looks over at them and says, hey, I can play with them too. And everything that Todd Lewis put in his Golf Channel report yesterday was amazing, that Tiger told him, I feel great. So much better than I did at the Masters 6-7 weeks ago. So if we get a better version of Tiger, and then they can pull him along on Thursday and Friday, then maybe Tiger will be in a better position than what he would have been if they would have put him with somebody from who knows who. But I think this is as good a grouping for Tiger as it is for anybody.
I wanted to add to that too, because the Players' Championship have done this megawatt thing for the last few seasons, where they've basically had 1, 2, and 3 in the world rankings, or 1, 2, and 3 in the FedEx Cup list, or whatever it might be. And I've called a group that had Rory, John Rahm, and Brooks Koepka in one time on Thursday and Friday. And Rory came out as saying he wasn't a big fan of this like megawatt trio stuff, because there's just so much attention placed on the thing. But what you say, Coach, about Tiger playing along there, I feel like, look, Spieth is always in it. He is going to game it out. If you take him down into the pit of hell, he is like all business. Where Rory sometimes can, get a little flustered by Jordan playing slowly or whatever the case might be. I feel like this will dial McIlroy a little bit in more too now, because now he's in a place where he can sort of show off a little bit. He's comfortable around Tiger. I feel like all three of them will lift each other's game. So I'm expecting to see some pretty exciting stuff. I mean, Thursday morning, we take over from ESPN for a couple 3 hours, and I'm expecting Dottie Pepper will have that group. But I might be wrestling her in the morning to try and knock her over so I can get it, because, I mean, that's going to be all sorts of fun.
KP, I hope you got inside the ropes access, bud, because they're going to be 30 deep. You're not going to have another way to. There you go. Now we're talking. You'll be able to catch a glimpse on these boys.
Boys, where's my? Oh, mine's waiting for me when I get there. I'll pick it up from your room, Kyle. No worries.
Hey, yeah, I promise you this. I promise you this. I'm gonna, if I find Kyle and he's got the power stance going on to the McIlroy group, I'm gonna get someone somehow to take the picture of him. This is my promise to you guys.
So I think I love Coach's point about how Tiger needs some energy. I mean, he's. Yeah, and Rory and Spieth are going to provide it, right? Rory is like I was in his presser today. He's super upbeat. Spieth is going to be jacked about the slam. Like this is awesome. I'm not general like I sort of in a vacuum. I like the way the Masters does their groupings better than pretty much anybody else, where they kind of create some diversity with how good the players are. But this is pretty cool because it's Rory needing, somebody pointed this out, I think it was Sean Zock on Twitter. Rory needs a major. He hasn't won one in 8 years. Spieth needs a slam. And you're going to have everybody on the property watching it. And it's going to be awesome. I think expectations for Tiger are, I mean, he set the bar at the Masters, right? He was never going to contend there. You can't do that, even him after 18 months of not playing. But the bar now is, make the cut and then see what happens on the weekend. And I actually think I don't think he's going to win this week. I could see him contending. I think he looks a lot healthier. He looks a lot better. He looks a lot stronger. I think the question that I had after the Masters was how much better is the leg going to get? And I think I didn't realize like that there was a lot of room for it to get better. And it seems like we're kind of moving in that direction. I think Tiger can mix it up. Like I would not be surprised if he was like 2 back on Saturday at noon, right? Now, is he going to go out and win the tournament? I don't think that can happen just because he's so rusty still. But I'm actually kind of more bullish on Tiger's chances at this event than I was at the Masters, just because all the hoopla that surrounded that and the return and everything. I think it feels more kind of settled in this time around at Southern Hills.
Yeah, he gained like 3.5 strokes on approach in his first 2 rounds at the Masters. Got worse on the weekend, but I agree. Looks stronger this time around. One of the other guys in that group there, Coach, Jordan Spieth, 1 win away. 1 little measly win away from being the 6th golfer to ever complete the modern career Grand Slam. Obviously in great form, right? Win at Harbor Town. Probably shoulda, coulda, woulda won last week. Ends up finishing 2nd there. This is one of, if not the best shot that Spieth has had in recent memory.
I think he has a better shot to do it this year than he did the year that he was winning everything. Right? Remember when Jason Day beat him at the PGA Championship? I think it's a better opportunity here because nobody's talking about it like they were back then when he was the best player in the world. But yet, sneakily, he may be the best player in the world right now. When you win 2 starts ago and then you contend and finish 2nd. I had him winning last week. Then I had my sleeper was KH Lee. So I had my 2 or 1-2. And that's how bullish I was on Spieth last week. Now, We've seen a lot of Game 7s in the last week, and we've seen teams and players not be able to handle the pressure. This is like a Game 7 for Jordan Spieth because we've seen with Rory, the more years that go by that you don't do it, the harder it seems to get. Jordan Spieth needs to do it, and he needs to do it this week so he can put it to bed and then start working on his legacy. And that, I think, is what he can accomplish this week.
When I look at Jordan Spieth's chances this week, Mark, I think they're pretty darn good. I think that he hasn't even really found the putter yet, but maybe banking on a guy who's struggling over 4 and 5 foot putts at a major championship, maybe that's not the recipe.
I don't know so much because this place, it's looking, well, I haven't been to the course yet. I'm supposed to go later this afternoon and wander around the place with Dottie and Gil Hans, in fact. So I'll get a better feel for the golf course then. But from all the reports I'm getting, I've had a conversation with a few folks, and they're like, this place is going to ask you to be just resilient. Yes, you're going to have to hit it. It's it's going to reward good iron game. But with the winds forecast, you're going to have to be able to recover a little bit too. And as I look at the way that's shaping up with the greens and how these edges have been expanded and ball's going to be repelled and there's chipping and pitching areas, I feel like everything is sort of aligning for Jordan Spieth to pull this thing off. Because when the wind starts blowing, yeah, you can say it's going to reward an iron striker. But you can stand a ball up in the breeze. We see that happen all the time in these heavy winds. We saw it last week in Dallas, when all of a sudden a perfect shot and you're pitching. And Jordan's the kind of guy, that's kind of the wheelhouse of his game. So, you know, as I'm looking at it right now, and if the forecast remains true, I'm like, good golly, it's like the script has basically been written for Spieth to pull it off. And look, he's from Texas, played golf down the way in Austin, this Big 12 area over here. You don't think that a pretty pro partisan Spieth crowd, which it was last week, they won't flock up yet at Tulsa, just a couple 100 miles, whatever it is. If Jordan starts getting in contention, it could be like Jordan, it could be like the arrival of the Beatles in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in my opinion. So right now, I was finding every way I could to try and get him in the one and done. And then I realized I'd used him in Phoenix, which was just horrible to use, but that's beside the point. So right now I'm on him. I really am on him in a big way.
18,368 for Jordan Spieth in Phoenix, Mark. That's not the number.
Oh,
yeah. KP, good or bad? Good or bad that Spieth's going to try to complete the slam here with Tiger and Rory in tow for the first 2 days?
I think it's fine. I mean, listen, I brainwashed these two so much that they're doing my Spieth propaganda for me now. I mean, I don't even know what to add to that. they've been listening to me for the last 2 years, and now they're just, I mean, what do you want me to add? They both said he's going to basically win by 5. I think. Listen,
wait a second.
like,
I didn't say 5.
I know. I have concern about the putting. It's he wins RBC Heritage and he makes nothing. And there's 2 ways to look at that. One is like, you can't win a major like that, right? You just can't. And 2 is, man, if he does putt at all, like, he could win by 5. I mean, legitimately, that's how well he's hitting the ball. I think this golf course, Mark said this or alluded to it. I think the golf course sets up pretty well for him, in that Rory was talking this morning about how wide the fairways are compared to not only what they used to be, but kind of how they look on the overhead videos. They're really wide to play, which benefits Spieth. And then the thing that Mark pointed out, which is true, is the greens now repel shots instead of funneling them into the middle of the green. And that to me just screams like short game magic, right? And Spieth he's not at the top of the list in terms of the stats this year, but man, how many times have we seen him at major championships? And especially at a place like this is a great facsimile for Augusta. He's just so good around the greens at places like that. And that,
Hello.
Sorry. I'm back. Can you hear me?
You were never gone.
We had you the whole time.
You the whole time.
Oh, okay. My bad. It went in and out. That to me just like,
Spieth has gotten in his head right now. He's losing it.
I know. If it turns into like a chipping contest like that, I think Spieth is really going to benefit. So I think he's got to be one of the top 3 favorites right now going in.
I want to add to what Kyle said. I'll tell you what, and again, I don't have the luxury of the statistics. I look at them sometimes. But Jordan Spieth with a wedge in his hand, and I will say this, he has no equal. Not just by how close he hits it, but how often he holds out greenside. And then the selection of shots that he has. He can take that lofted wedge of his and he basically becomes like Merlin. I mean, the guy's like a magician. He turns the face down and it's low spinners and runners. Then he opens the thing up, lets these high flop soft ones, and then he'll hit the high sort of floaty spinner. He's got so many skills around the greens. And so in a situation like this, with the way these greens are set up, from what I understand, it's going to play into his wheelhouse. Now, statistically, maybe the around the green stuff doesn't show. But if I was selecting an all PGA Tour chipping and pitching team, Jordan would be my number 1 guy every single day and twice on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, just to be clear, he's been fine. He's been good. He just hasn't been like at the very top of the list. So I think, if you're in the top 15, that's extraordinary. And I think we can trust Spieth at majors to kind of turn that up a little bit.
If you think Jordan Spieth's going to win by 4 or more shots, you can get that at 60-1, 60-1. Coach, winning the Masters is like winning the Kentucky Derby. You're the only guy who can do it. You're the only guy who can either win the Triple Crown or the Grand Slam in the same year. That honor, Scottie Scheffler. Also helps that he's one of the hottest players on planet Earth. We've talked about you either got to be really good with your irons or you got to be really good around and on the greens. Good news for Scottie Scheffler. He's amazing at all that.
Yeah, he really is. And he played well last week up until Sunday, and I thought he just kind of fell off. And it doesn't matter the tournament now. He's always going to be, I go to the top 15 or 20, and his name's always in there starting from the jump. We also know, because you hear players, you could feel when players talk about a certain place, that they just have good vibes and a good energy and a good attitude. And Scottie Scheffler, in several interviews that I've seen, says that, if I'm mistaken, guys, tell me I'm wrong, that this is his favorite golf course to play. He loves Southern Hills. And if you love a golf course and you're in form and you've won 4 times in the last 4 months and every time you're contending, what bad thoughts could Scottie Scheffler even possibly have? And if he can, he is coming in under the radar, and he's one of the guys that is going to really benefit from the fact that we have the grouping that we just talked about, the Tiger, the Spieth, the Rory. Scottie Scheffler can go do his own thing, and then come the weekend, he can have the focus. But I think it's going to help him as much as anybody.
Let me fan the Scottie Scheffler flames here a bit, Mark, because Southern Hills assistant pro Cameron Chim caddied for Scheffler last week during a practice round, said he shot a, quote, easy 64, said he played one ball the entire time, no practice putts, made it look easy. Oh, boy. Oh, this is like training camp in the NFL. Everybody's in the best shape of their lives in August.
Yeah, no, Ted Scott, he's just got a smile on his face right now. I mean, Scottie is cruising. And, once again, one and done missteps. I used Scottie at the RSM Classic in the fall. I mean, anyway, that's way beside the point. It was such a wrestle for me to sort of split Jordan Spieth and Scottie Scheffler. Because to me, the way Scheffler has been playing, and I spoke with Ted Scott at length about what the strengths of his game are. And Ted said, he's just a competitor. And he scores and he recovers. And then Ted listed a number of shots there at that Masters win that Scottie was pitching on 3, and then he made a few saves. And that wedge that he hit to 17 after driving in trouble, that wedge is the club he's donated to the Augusta National Golf Club. Every champion does, and they've got a display there in the men's grill. So Scottie has also got that thing where he's comfortable in this environment. He hits the ball through the wind pretty well. But around the greens, he's just magical. And so I'm having a really tough time splitting the two of them. And even though I'm all Spieth right now, I feel like if it had to come down to it, if there's someone who can stand up to Spieth a little bit in this field, it would be Scottie Scheffler. The only knock, Rick, is that I'm like, it's really only Tiger Woods and Ben Hogan and Jack Nicklaus and Byron Nelson who sort of win multiple majors in a row. But I think it's on this week. It really is, because if there's one thing that Scottie does, he keeps golf the thing. When he's off the course, he's just Scottie. And golf isn't who he is, it's what he does. And so if anyone can handle the brouhaha about it and all the questions that he's likely to get from guys like Kyle on Saturday evening if he's close to the lead, Scottie can deal with this sort of stuff. So I'm digging his action right now too.
Guys like Kyle.
Scottie's
one of one.
You're one of one.
Scottie's very relentless, KP. And, he mentioned in his post-round or his post-tournament interview at Augusta National how he just goes out and plays golf, right? Like it was almost as if he's just showing up the golf course every single day, trying to get a little bit better. It's just golf. It's not that big of a deal. And a lot of guys say that, but it feels kind of different. And it feels like you kind of have to think that way when you've won now 4 times in such a short period of time. He's actually backing up his words with actions.
Yeah, I think he lives that out pretty well. I've listened to a bunch of interviews with him and actually spent a little time with him between the Masters and PGA. And I think what you're saying is correct. And I think that some guys get sucked into your score is who you are, right? Like your score is reflective of who you are as a person. It's hard not to, because this is like such an all-consuming job. And I think he does a good job of not like believing that. And it keeps him kind of, you're going to fall into that every once in a while just because it's hard not to. But I think it keeps him above the fray in a lot of ways. And if you want to talk about like reasons he can, sometimes we see guys win a major or win the Masters and then they fall off immediately, right? It's like they climb this mountaintop and then they fall off immediately. I don't really think that's going to happen with it. It might, that could happen, but I don't think it is. And part of the reason that I don't think that is if you look at, he's hitting the ball great. He's been a top 10 ball striker so far this year. But the thing that really excites me about his game, he's number 3 of everybody in this field so far in 2022 in terms of strokes gained around the greens. We'll talk about the guy who's number 1 a little bit later on, but Scheffler's been number 3, and that to me is like he just is playing with such confidence that I can hit it wherever, and if I miss, that's okay because I'll get it up and down. And when you have somebody that's that good of a ball striker that thinks that, that's terrifying, right? It's not just like he made a bunch of putts and won the Masters. It's he just took a lead and he was never really going to relinquish it. And that is extremely scary for the rest of the field. I think he does have an opportunity to, like, I don't know if he's going to win. I think he'll be in it though. He plays great at majors, 7 straight top 20s, 5 of them are top 10s. He's big time, and I think he's going to make a run, maybe the best run we've seen since 2015 at the Grand Slam in a single year. When Spieth tried to do it back in 2015.
Yeah, it feels like he's kind of the most likely to just be in the mix in some form or another. We've got to talk about more guys who are going to be in the mix because we're about to enter our picks segment. We've got the best bets. We've got one and done. We've got Mark's nationality selection of the week. We've got all that fun stuff. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Don't forget, you can experience the PGA Championship like never before. This is your chance to be part of the action, to play PGA Championship Fantasy by creating your all-star lineup and custom groups to challenge friends and family and compete to win the grand prize. Visit pgachampionship.com/fantasy to play now. Coach, the PGA Championship has a fantasy game. That's good for business for guys like me and you, I think.
Yeah, it is. And I'm trying to figure out, because I saw a few people on my Twitter timeline that said that a few of you on your Monday show were talking a little trash about the commish and fantasy and what guys that we are picking. Is that true or is that not true?
That's true. I did that.
Thank you. All right. At least you owned it. That's okay. Ricky, we're gonna
I knew you'd respect that.
Completely. Yes. Yes.
I remember last time
Coach,
I was talking about you, Coach. I was giving you props on the long shot and your top 10 and your best bet hit. I've been giving too many props to Coach recently.
Fair.
Coach, it wasn't me. I wasn't on the show. So
No, Mark does it behind your back. He doesn't do it out in public.
Which I also respect.
All right, Mark, major championship nationality pick. So those tuning in for the first time, here's what happens. Mark has been very good at these nationality selections, and we've added a twist to it. Essentially, we are going to hear a national anthem. We will stumble and bumble and try to figure out what that national anthem actually is. And then once we've determined that, we will try to find the golfer associated with that national anthem that Mark has selected. Sound about right, Mark?
that sounds about right. I appreciate the compliment because you guys have done well with guessing the last 2 weeks, and the selections I've made have been abhorrent. I mean, they haven't been anywhere close to what I was hoping. But this week, I'll be honest with you, initially when I looked through the numbers yesterday, I was intrigued by Rory McIlroy, and I sent a text to producer Jacob saying, Rory, low European. And then I scrolled a little further down, and then I quickly pivoted, and I'm like, check that. This is the selection. Go, Jacob.
Corey Connors. Corey Connors.
Job.
That's it. We got it. That was the first guess.
I knew it was okay.
You know what, guys? It must have been that trip past the baseball field, the Little League field where he's playing, because it's got him all riled up. Yeah, I scrolled down the list and I saw just 3 Canadians. And this place, I listened to Corey Connors on television last night talking about it, and he just seemed like he was lit up and loved the look of the place. Greg's probably going to disagree on the Adam Hadwin thing not going there. And Mackenzie's just struggled a bit for form. So I feel, even though the number's not so great, Corey Connors has got to be 2 guys.
Yeah,
that was Canada.
Craig is lost with Adam Hadwin. Connors led after round 1 last year, and he's been kind of low key a good major. He's kind of played his way into being a good major player. So I love this. I think it's a great bet, Mark.
Well, look, I'm just so impressed. How about this guy? He picked the one 2 weeks ago, Kyle did, with a clue, and now we're 5 bars into the national anthem, and he's got Canada, Corey Connors.
Who's sitting next to you, and are they wondering why you're just yelling at the computer? Corey Connors.
I picked there's nobody. I picked a spot where nobody is sitting, so no, they can probably hear me. Like I've got a window in front of me. This is for like the radio people. They can probably hear me up front. I'm surprised the whole room didn't turn around when I'm just screaming Corey Connors' name back here.
Corey Connors, top Canadian, -120. There's only 3 of them, Coach. We saw them on the screen there. Connors, -120. Hadwin, +225. Mackenzie Hughes, +300. So it's a small group of players, thank you, Jacob, that could earn this honor this week.
This is a great way to educate and entertain because this is a fantastic bet, as much as I hate to say it about Mark. But when you're really looking for value, we use that word all the time. This is incredible value because you'd have -120 if you're going Corey Connors against whatever, or in a group of 5 or 6. So you're getting this in a group of 3. Essentially, I think it's a group of 2. So for me, -20 head against Adam Hadwin, I would take that all day.
All right, there you go. Corey Connors, top Canadian, -120. Gentlemen, our best bets. This is where we go over the Caesars Sportsbook. We scour every square pixel of that website, and we find the best possible option that we can make. Coach, I'll kick it right back to you here because you've gone with a head-to-head matchup for your best bet. What is it?
Couldn't believe this number. Couldn't believe this bet was actually something I could make at Caesars Sportsbook. Max Homa. He may or may not be my long shot of the week at +5,500, but he just won 2 weeks ago. And head up against Louis Oosthuizen, who has been withdrawing from tournaments, has not been in form. But the last time we saw him, I think, was the Masters holding his back, withdrawing, then the next week withdrawing again. So I might win this on Thursday. That's how confident I am in this pick. I hope he does not withdraw. I don't want him to withdraw, but that's been his MO as of late.
Max Homa.
Are you concerned that Homa doesn't have a top 25 at a major yet?
I'm not concerned because he loves the course. I listen to their attitudes. And yes, Kyle, he doesn't have a good track record, but he also hasn't been playing this good whenever he's entered majors in the past. He's playing better right now than he's ever played in his entire career and has more confidence.
Not even close.
What's exciting about Max Homa is what you just said, Coach. He's playing now than he ever has in his career. Could have been said about him every 3 months for the last 2 years. He's just getting constantly better. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Mark. Ooh, another
Yes.
nationality selection here. This time, low Englishman, a little bit longer odds, 4-1. Who have you chosen?
I went with Tyrrell Hatton to be the low Englishman, and you look through the group of players over there, and there's some solid ones, but Matt Fitzpatrick was obviously the belle of the ball there. But I just love the way this golf course sets up for Tyrrell. Again, he's a really solid iron striker, and this year he's been above his normal standard on the greens. I mean, I think he's way up the PGA Tour putting ranking. So I have a sense here in some blustery conditions, which he plays pretty well. You look at the places he's won. He's won at St Andrews. He's won there in some of the venues on the European Tour where it can really blow. I think Tyrrell Hatton at +400 to be the low guy from England is a pretty sound bet, and I jumped on that.
Yeah, and I think producer Jacob actually shorted you a half a point here on the graphic. I'm looking at Caesars right now. He's +450, Mark, even better.
Even better, yeah.
Even longer there, Tyrrell Hatton to be the top Englishman. I went with someone who's made a habit of finishing inside the top 20. He's got a couple of major championships already. It's Colin Morikawa to finish inside the top 20, -110. KP, he's just so good. And he just shows up at major championships. He's got that elite iron play. He's getting better and better on and around the greens. I'm taking a page out of your book. I'll just take Morikawa top 20 here. And I'll just wait till we'll figure this out.
You took what? Morikawa top 20?
Morikawa top 20. You've got a top 10 wager for your best bet.
The thing, do you get nervous, Rick? I was thinking about this today with Morikawa. He either finishes outside the top 60 or inside the top 5. And I think that's a little I would almost, if I was making a top 20 bet for Morikawa, I would almost just make it top 10 or top 5. How do you feel about that?
Oh, interesting. So you're saying if he's going to finish inside the top 20, well, I might as well take the extra odds of finishing inside the top 5 or top 10 because that's where he's going to be. There's not much of a chance he finishes T19 and cashes and wins this for me, barely. He's either well inside the line or he's losing it.
Yeah. So Rory, my guy, has not been well inside the line at PGAs since he won in 2014. He only has one top 10 at a PGA. That was in 2019, the backdooriest of backdoors at Bethpage when he almost missed the cut and then finished, I think, T8. But he's got some stuff going for him. He seemed super upbeat in his presser today. He said he was just playing a lot better than this time last year when he went to Kiowa. But the thing that is really exciting to me, again, Mark mentioned this earlier, there's going to be you're going to have to get up and down from some really difficult positions. And Rory McIlroy is number 1 in the world in strokes gained around the green since January 1, which that shocked me. Not that he's a bad short game player, but I don't think of him as being a number 1 in the world type guy with, kind of around the green. So his short game's working well. He's been putting it pretty good. He's obviously hitting it great. I don't know that he's going to win, but it's difficult for me. It came down to either this or Scheffler top 10, and Rory was just better odds, and I went with him ultimately.
McIlroy plus 175 to finish inside the top 10. Morikawa inside the top 20. Max Homa over Louis Oosthuizen, Terrell Hatton, Low Englishman are the best wagers for the week. Let's dive deeper here, gentlemen. Sleepers, top 10, and picks to win. We've got some overlap here. Coach, you teased your sleeper. It is the same sleeper as Kyle. It's Max Homa, 55-1.
Yeah, and I think the people at home that watch every single week have probably realized by now I'm really good at doing this because my sleeper a week ago, I can't remember if it was only
if they haven't realized it, Coach, you'll tell them about it. Don't worry.
Right, I will. Completely off. So 2 days ago, I believe that I got just a slew of tweets thanking me for a plus 9,000 hit. 90-1. You're welcome. KH Lee, everybody. Now, Max Homa this week. Plus, to me, a long shot has to be plus 5,000 or higher. And right now, he's in that sweet spot. Playing great. Just won, has the confidence, loves the course. To me, he is the guy if you are betting on a long shot this week.
KP, this was interesting because you kind of poked and prodded Coach on this. Are you worried about the major championship finishes? And maybe you were just trying to suss out Coach's feelings because you might not be all that concerned about Homa's major championships finishes.
Well, he gave the answer that I think I was looking for, which is the same answer that I would give, which Max Homa's never played this well in his entire life. I mean, he's won before on the PGA Tour, but he's not played at this level of excellence in terms of ball. I mean, I tweeted this out earlier. I think he's 7th or 8th in terms of ball striking this year in the entire world, right there with Scottie Scheffler. Like he's hitting the ball like a major champion. And I think he knows it's time to kind of get something done at a major championship. So yeah, you don't get 55-1, or you shouldn't get 55-1 odds on somebody who's a top 10 ball striker for the entire year at a major championship. And that's what you're getting with Homa.
Correct.
Friend of the pod, Max Homa, by the way. Friend of the pod, Jason Day is my sleeper, 70-1. Outside of 2 bad rounds in his last 3 starts, he's been pretty darn good. And even when he's been at his worst, shows up at PGA Championships. I think this is one of the better spots for him. Mark, you're taking a page from Coach's book a couple weeks ago. Davis Riley, the longest shot on the board, 125-1.
Well, Coach is just so good at this stuff. I figured I should try and copy him once in a while. So I'm going with Davis Riley. No, you Coach used the term sweet spot, and you guys are talking about Max Homa, who's playing beautifully. Davis Riley is now beginning to play beyond his rookie status. The way he's going about his craft, the way he's sort of managing his game, it looks to me like he's taking strides. Now, he hasn't won yet, but he's been in contention, and he's been around the thing a little bit. He dueled Justin Thomas there, and of course, Sam Burns down at the Valspar, and had a taste of what it's like to contend around a difficult golf course. He played well again last week, was solid down there in Washington, D.C. So I just see a guy that's sort of playing into himself. And I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if he is not a factor again on the weekend, just by the way he hits the golf ball. Now, I'm happy to hear Kyle for the first time in like the history of ever reference how important recovery shots are around major championships. If there is something I'm a little concerned with Riley, it might be that. But Right now, he's a green light for me at 100, and that number was just ridiculous. Why not put a few shekels on that?
125-1, the history of ever from Kyle, which is always
Mark
always
apparently
good.
doesn't read enough CBSSports.com, so I don't know what's.
Kyle,
Some of us are working.
Mark can barely check his email. You think he can read something from CBSSports.com?
That's a great point. Also, hey, when you Venmo me on Monday after my one and done wins this week, I take dollars, not shekels. So just as a reminder.
Homa, Riley, Day. All right,
Wait. Before you go anywhere, Jacob, please clip that Kyle Porter segment over there. We need to keep that on file, please. Thank you.
I mostly just say stuff on here now just to see what Coach's reaction will be. That's kind of how
you make me laugh.
it's kind of like, Coach, it's kind of like when I'm at home. I mostly just say stuff out loud to see what my wife's reaction will be to just whether it's whatever. That's, you are my wife on this show, so congratulations.
I'll take it. I'll take all the love. I'll take it.
Coach, let's start with you and your top 10 wager here. If this golfer finishes inside the top 10, it would be very exciting, and he would get you 2-1 on your money. Who is it, please?
Well, it's Jordan Spieth, because you cannot take a top 10 guy with negative money. It's just a bad bet. And so this is a really good number for a guy that's playing great right now, and I think he's going to be so incredibly motivated, as a lot of guys are. But I love Jordan Spieth this week, and I like the plus 200. It's not a great number, but at least you get 2-1 on your money.
2-1 on your money, indeed. I went with Will Zalatoris. Avert your eyes from that missed cut last week. Doesn't matter. Gained 3 strokes on approach. Didn't putt well. No issues there. Zalatoris has told us he's a major championship guy. I agree with him. Plus 330. Mark, you have taken, I guess he's the hottest player on the planet. We got a lot of guys coming in good form, but Scottie might be that guy. Plus 135.
Okay, but open disclosure, when I filled this thing out yesterday evening, there's me trying to let you know that I was ahead of the game for the first time in my life. I had Rory as a top 10er, and I had Justin Thomas as the winner. And then something gripped me last night, and I was overcome by Big 12 stuff and how Scheffler and Spieth are going to be so good around the place. But the more I thought about it, and then I went and listened to some of my podcast with Ted Scott again, just the way Ted spoke about him and just about the demeanor and how he deals with pressure and just his ability around the greens. And Ted said to me, he goes, when Scottie approached me for the job, he goes, I didn't really know him. I had never watched him play. And then when I got on his back, I quickly realized that this guy has no weakness. And he goes, and that's the first time that I've ever been around a player where it's not like, well, he's not that great out of bunkers or he's a little spotty with a driver. He goes, Scottie just does it all right. And the way he's playing right now around a place where he loves, apparently, I think, I know that number is short, but Scheffler in the top 10, I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Plus 135 for Scottie Scheffler to finish inside the top 10. KP, round us out here with your top 10 selection, please.
Yeah, it's Rory. It was between, I said this earlier, it was between Rory and Scheffler. You can't really go wrong with either of those, I don't think. And I just went with Rory because he's a little bit longer. I think you're getting kind of hosed on the Scheffler number just because he has been winning so much. And that's why I went with Rory.
Rory McIlroy, plus 175. Our friends over at Caesars just announced that a customer in the state of Nevada, this was not me, I swear, just bet $20,000 on Tiger Woods to win the PGA Championship. The payout for that, Coach, $1.2 million.
In a related story, a customer in Las Vegas just donated $20,000 to the charity of
just donated to the bottom line of Caesars Sportsbook. That's pretty good, Coach. All right, Coach, I'm going to hold us for the end here because you and I are on the same golfer. Mark, we've been talking about Jordan Spieth a lot. You have decided at 16-1, he's your horse.
Yeah, I had a few guys, I'll call them honorable mentions. I love Justin Thomas this week. Scottie is a good bet. I think Rory is percolating a little bit, but just the way Jordan played last week and the way he dealt with the pressure of playing at home, with all the expectations and stuff. And I spoke about this on Tuesday. The confidence that he's speaking with, he just looks like he's sort of got stuff figured out. Now everyone's going to point to the odd short miss with a putter. The truth is, everyone's going to have a short miss or two leading into or throughout this event. The key is just not to have that short miss on the final 9 holes. So if Jordan does Jordan stuff and he makes that sort of must-make stuff on Sunday afternoon, I don't think he'll be too far away from the Wanamaker Trophy.
16-1, and if he wins, would complete the career Grand Slam. KP, you have chosen a golfer that we have spent 0 seconds talking about in this show. He's 28-1. Who is it, please?
I know. What does the world come to that I choose an obscure European and Mark takes Jordan Spieth to win a major championship?
It's bizarro world.
It's the air in Tulsa. I don't know what's going on over here. So I've lost my mind.
Shane Lowry's not an obscure European. I was saying that for effect. He's been one of the best players in the world for the last few months now. If you look at last 20 rounds, Scottie Scheffler's 2.89 strokes gained per round, and Shane Lowry's 2.88. So he's been right there with Scheffler in terms of how good his game has been for the last few months. Finished 3rd at the Masters, followed that up with a 3rd at the RBC Heritage. I love that he's an elite iron player. He gains over a stroke per round with his irons right now. And, you know, we've talked a lot about the 2 things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to hit irons to really tiny spots on these greens, and you're going to have to get up and down when you don't. And I think Shane Lowry can do both of those things. I love the number at 28-1. I love how he's playing. I think he might be a 2 major guy. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see how it plays out, but I think he's coming in really, really underrated into this tournament.
He tried to will the golf gods into a Masters victory. Maybe they're just a little bit behind. Maybe they will make do here at the PGA Championship. Coach, you and I have found the same golfer. One major championship on the resume, looking to double that this week and add a second. It is Hideki Matsuyama. Why do we love him?
Well, first of all, I feel very good because you're on it too, and I respect your opinion a great deal. The reason we love him is because he's streaky. And I watched him play last week, and when he gets going, man, he can put a lot of birdies together. The only thing that scares me is how high he hits the ball and the fact that the wind is supposed to blow on Thursday and Friday like crazy. But I love him playing in hot weather. I love the fact that he's playing really well. And I think all the issues he had with the neck are over. And I just love him this week, Rick, to really play well, laser focused. And I think his game is now measured by the major championships.
Yeah, he's in the midst of the best putting year of his career. All things pointing forward and up and to the right for Hideki Matsuyama, 22-1. Gentlemen, there is one.
Coach, one more thing, Rick. Coach, don't worry about how high Hideki hits it. That guy hits it however the heck he wants. And the way he struck the thing last week, it was out on the button every single time. So I wouldn't be concerned about that.
Thank you. Awesome.
Love to hear that. Gentlemen, one final thing to do. It's our one and done selections. And boy, things are heating up. Talk about that in a second. And we'll get the fans one and done selection. I've got the results of the vote. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. One and done. Jacob, don't reveal that board just yet because I've got the final votes in from the fans. Now, the fans, they made up ground a couple of weeks ago. They faded back a little bit. 4.8 million, currently sitting in 6th out of 8. Their 3rd place selection only got 7% of the vote. 7% for John Rahm, 7% for Cam Smith. They're not going with either of those 2 this week. 2-man race at the top with 30% of the vote. Coming in second, Coach, Hideki Matsuyama, our guy, not the fans' guy.
Okay.
No problem with that.
I tell you all the time, we're in their heads, and clearly we are again. Please reveal.
With 39% of the vote, the fans have selected Jordan Spieth as their one and done pick. Now, the fans, this would be disrespectful to Sia, but I could say this is a lone wolf situation because Sia so far he's out of it. Sia also has Jordan Spieth, but I do wonder, Jacob, has Sia transferred his mush to the fans?
As soon as I saw that Sia sent in Jordan Spieth, and it came in about the same time that I knew Elijah and the fans had picked Spieth as well, I just hated to see that for him. That Sia was going to probably mush the fans this week. It's happened to me the last 2 weeks. Now it's going to go for you guys. So I'm sorry for you. You're going to get the Spieth mush.
I'm not sorry.
Sia Nejad went with Jordan Spieth. KP, you have gone with Dustin Johnson. Over your last 6 events, you've made $2 million. So you are working your way up the leaderboard, and now you've got DJ as your selection.
Yeah, 2 reasons for this. One, I knew I would probably be alone, which I wanted. And 2, I basically have Brooks, DJ, and Spieth left for the majors. And I'm using Spieth at the Open, which I think, said 100 times now. And then I'll probably use Brooks at the U.S. Open. So I had to take. I couldn't take Brooks here because I don't know if he I don't even know if he's gonna play. I don't know how hurt he is. I don't know what's going on. DJ, I don't love. He's not playing great, but a lot of that has been due to a kind of a cold putter, which that can get hot in a hurry. So I ended up going with DJ.
$3.6 million for Kyle, $4.8 million for the fans. The fans, of course, again going with Jordan Spieth. Greg is a lone wolf with one of the co-favorites, Scottie Scheffler, $4.9 million. Mark, if Scottie continues this hot streak and he snaps off another victory, Greg is going to be, depending on what you do, potentially taking your top spot.
What's that thing about ifs, ands, and buts? If they were candy and nuts, if I had $1 million, I'd be a millionaire. Look, is he likely to play well? Absolutely. Hopefully, my guy will do pretty well too. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Jacob, $5.5 million, right in the thick of this. You have lone wolfed it yourself. You avoided the Sia Nejad mush, and you found yourself Cam Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised. I think just like Shane Lowry, I think Cameron Smith might be coming to this a little bit under the radar. The biggest question mark for him is always the driver. How many strokes is he going to lose off the tee for a week is sort of the dice roll that you get with him. And if the reports are said that the fairways are wide here, rough is shortish, So I think Cameron Smith could be a good play here. I was happy that I was the only one that picked him. I think Kyle or Sia or the fans could have also mushed him this week. Sia also has Cameron Smith available, so glad I dodged that bullet.
Coach, you and I are within $30,000 of one another. I generally do not like to see one of the guys ahead of me with the same golfer that I do, but you and I are in lockstep this week. Jon Rahm, we're going to win together. We're going to lose together. I just think let's just do it. Let's just pass Mark. We'll put him in our rear view, and then you and I can battle it out later.
That is the plan.
Say it, Coach. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
That after this week, Mark Immelman will be in my rear view mirror. Now, I know I've said that before, but I didn't truly mean it until today. Now, I can't believe I'm getting ready to admit this. Second time in the same show. But I channeled my inner KP. And I was down to Spieth or Rahm. And I keep hearing Kyle's voice, St. Andrews. So I don't know if I'm going to use Spieth at St. Andrews, but I'm going to save him for the opportunity to use him at St. Andrews. So this was an easy one for me, Jon Rahm, because I'll be happy to share the payout with you, Rick. I'll be happy to share the payout with you this week.
Deal. Jon Rahm for Coach and I. He's the favorite or co-favorite to win this PGA Championship. And Mark, you've got $1 million lead. And I believe this was a last-minute, dare I say, panic swap to Justin Thomas.
I'm going to let Kyle describe it because when you said this before we went on the air, Kyle, I was like, he's actually right. So please tell the fans what you said about this pick of mine.
So Mark had this planned out since like last November, and then he panic picked JT because he watched him for like 14 holes on Sunday, and he flushed it, and he just couldn't get that cut 5-wood out of his head. He just panicked, and he took JT. You had it all planned out, and you did not trust the process, Mark.
Normally I keep JT for the Tour Championship. It's kind of a thing of mine. Webb Simpson for Wyndham, that sort of stuff. And when I thought about this, I was actually angling for Will Zalatoris, but I was a little concerned with, the way the play shakes out over here. And so I was like, I've got to go with an iron striker. And Justin Thomas is in really good shape, and he's won the player at the PGA, I should say, before. He's also won the Players for that matter. And I just thought it was a cool pick. But when I sent the text to Jacob with who my pick was, I was like, I think I'm going to rue this decision. I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope he goes well. The way he's playing right now, I'm expecting him to, but I hope this one works out because I changed my plan.
By the way, what does it say about us boys that we all have these amazing jobs? We work for CBS Sports. We do all of these big things. We're going to be at the PGA Championship this week, and we're more worried about our one and done than anything else we're doing the entire week.
Okay, Coach. Okay, well, that is right because I do favorite the one and done picks on my PGA Tour leaderboard. But this week, I've got to be honest with you. If you've seen me checking my phone, my daughter Isabel is playing in the state high school golf championship, and so I'm getting live updates from my wife Tracy. And Izzy she just bogeyed the last for 76. It's the first time she's broken 80 in a tournament. So I don't care about one and done right now. I'm happy as a lark.
God bless you,
do
brother.
You that's awesome. One, do you also favorite Rob Bolton's one and done picks on your leaderboard?
No, it's the other way around.
That's right. He is the Bolton Slayer. Rob Bolton's PGA Tour app is Mark's one and done selection.
That's great.
Breaking 80 for the first time and doing it by 4 shots is like that's some good stuff. It's awesome.
Well, yeah. Well, yesterday, honestly, she was 3 over through 12, and I just landed in Atlanta, and I text Tracy. I'm like, "How are you?" Fine. I'm like, "How's Izzy?" She goes, "She just birdied 2 holes in a row. She's 3 over through 12." And I text back, "This might be the day." Well, the next text I get is like, "She just doubled the following hole," and then she finished. Then she finished with like a triple bogey for 81 or whatever it was. So she had it lined up. And then Tracy texted me this morning. I land from Tulsa, and Tracy goes, "Her warm-up was terrible. She's tired. I can't see this happening." And lo and behold, she has her best tournament run, which is it's golf. I mean, what do you call this, Kyle? Normal sport? That's kind of what it is.
Normal sport. Beware the terrible warm-up.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure. Gentlemen, that will do it for our mega preview pod. Unless anybody's got anything before we go. Going once, going twice.
Ricky Fowler paying homage to Woody Austin with his scripting this week. He looks like he's like filming for a movie. I mean, he looks like an undercover cop again, like he did last year at the PGA. So I don't know what's going on there. But,
well, he's in the place right now where Puma could basically. Well, Ricky's in the place where Puma right now can tell him he's got to wear whatever, and he's like, "Gotcha.
I'll do it.
Don't worry, I'm gonna." Yeah.
I like that check.
For sure.
Yeah, Ricky also pretty non-committal about his relationship with the PGA Tour moving forward. That might be something we have to talk about. Gentlemen, we're not done because it's a major championship week. Obviously, round-by-round recaps, but we've got a Wednesday, that's tomorrow if you're watching this live, live stream, question and answer, more wagering stuff. Got a couple of different guests. We got somebody making a debut tomorrow. That'll be fun. That's 1 p.m. Eastern time. Keep an eye out for that. We'll also mix in some Twitter spaces for the first round or two. So plenty more content coming your way. For now, producer Jacob, thank you very much. Does all the hard work behind the scenes. The coach is available on Twitter at the Coach Rules. That's Kyle Porter. You can find him at Kyle Porter CBS. Mark Immelman, Mark_Immelman. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.